Do you all think this is an accurate depiction of Moors? Like, do you think this is an accurate depiction? Berber descent Moors, Western Maghribi. I don't think it is, and I don't know who decided that this was a good depiction. Um, Mixing with the rest of the nations, because that's not an accurate depiction. That's not how Americans looked in the emblems. You know how the character, what's his name? I forgot his real name, the actor's real name, Eddie in Family Matters. That's how they looked in the old emblems. They look just like him in Family Matters. Eddie. I don't know, like, what's this obsession with, like, blonde hair, curly hair, reddish tone hair, light skin. I don't know what the obsession is with that, right? Um, because I know some people who work with this website, rvbankonline.com, you know, they're into the whole mixing thing. So I don't know what that's about. But this is not representational of ancient America at all. I'll just be honest about it. But that's not what I want to talk about. You see how the Moors look, though. You see how the Moors look. So Google comes out and tells the real truth. While E1B1B1B, while E1B1B1B, EM81 is the most common marker for Northwest African Berber ancestry Moors. Haplo J, Haplogroup J is considered a major marker of Arab and Middle Eastern influence in North Africa, which contributed to the population that later entered the Iberian Peninsula, the Moors. So I have Haplo J and I have Haplo E1B1B1B. And this is how we look, right? When you talk about certain times, like, this would be like medieval. Um, this is how Moors look, right? You know, very jet black tone. But when you talk about the Moors, right, you have to include everyone. So you're talking about Senegalese Moors, American Moors, German Moors. You have to include everyone. That's when we were connected. That's when we were linked together. That's when we were one. And those bloodlines are still alive today. That's the crazy part about it. And if you spot someone on the street, just walking around, you know, just looking at people and stuff like that, spotting them at a sporting event, you'll know who's a Moor, and you'll know exactly who comes from that bloodline. Just when you look at them, you'll know. You'll exactly know. Like Senegalese, they're just like, they're the pinnacle. Cause Senegalese, that's like where the Moors began. You know what I mean? So you see how he looks right here. You know, he looks like an African American. She looks like an African American. You got him, Morgan Freeman, playing a Moor. You see? I had a magazine and it showed on the front cover. I don't know if it was Times. I don't know what magazine it was, but I had a magazine. And on the front, it had a depiction of a man who looked just like this, who was a citizen of Morocco with his wife. You know what I mean? Looked spot on. And I'm like, he looks just like an African American. So, like, you can tell that the lands were once together. And, like, the people had traversed from New Jersey to what you would call northern Morocco now, over there in Africa, the Rif, the Rifian. You can tell that America was connected to that landmass. You can tell because it's people there who still looks African American in Morocco today. The people are still there. You know, like this is a good picture. This is a good picture. Moors ruled parts of Europe, primarily the Iberian Peninsula, modern day Spain and Portugal, for 800 years, for about 800 years. So they always tell us, like, our history starts with the transatlantic slave trade. Not even saying that the transatlantic, right? When you talk about the transatlantic slave trade, you're talking about trading in coast, which means it was never on the waters. It was always in coast. And the people who they had traffic, right? They had already been to America. So it's like they try to get us caught up in this thing about, oh, you're really from Africa, so you shouldn't even be in America. That type of thing. You know what I mean? This is a good picture. But they try to get us with that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, we had been traveling for 170,000 years before that. And you all just left Europe. So you all definitely wasn't trafficking us. You all had just left Europe. Like, why would some people from Africa, right, allow someone to come into their villages and pull them out and put them on a coastal water? Like, do you know how? And not only that, they got forts, so they're using gas rockets to fend off people from attacking their coast. So that don't even make sense. But you ask AI, right, and AI it goes around it. It always gives you like a surmise answer. Like it always goes around what you're really asking them. So they never answer what you're trying to get to directly. You know what I'm saying? They never answer it. So you know that they're lying. They're just lying. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't even find these type of clothes. You know what I'm saying in the market today. You can't even find these type of clothes. Like you gotta go to like a Sahel region in Africa to get this. You can't find this on a market in America. America, they got denim jeans and that's it. That's it. They just got denim jeans, farmer jeans. That's it. They do not got silks. You know what I'm saying? They don't have head attire. They don't have waist beads. They don't have waist ribbons, sandals. The only thing they got is Crocs. They don't even got like a variety of sandal. So a lot of people are predicting, right, that America is about to give us. are reparations, right? They're predicting that, right? Even after they just voted no. So if you even think about, like, if you think you're going to get reparations, right, it's going to have to take Africa either giving it to you, like calling you back to Africa and calling you back home and saying, here goes your reparations, or them going to war with America, right? Trying to defeat them from the inside out and giving them your reparations then. Because America has already decided that they're not going to give reparations. They voted against it. But the world voted yes. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. And if you want to know how it's going to go, just look at some of the past decisions that kind of got voted through, that other nations voted against, and kind of see how that worked. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back and study some of those old resolutions, because it just doesn't make sense why America doesn't want to give reparations, right? Because if they're saying they're not going to give reparations, they're saying they didn't do anything wrong. They're saying that slavery didn't happen. That's what they're saying. So either way it works, because they still have to give something, because, our government is interregnum, and we're study experiencing inflation, right? We don't even have our own currency. And if you're saying we didn't come from anywhere, why don't we have our own currency? You know what I'm saying? So they got to figure that out. You see what I'm saying? This looks like somebody from Baltimore, Washington, D.C., you know? So this is what you see on the emblems. You see people this tone, this shade. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really understand why they're trying to whitewash our history. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that. Like, I mean, I get it, but like, again, I don't get it, because like, you're trying to wake the very people up you're trying not to scare away. It's like, why not just put this? Why not have a photo of like this up on the website or something like that? Like all these photos that you could have chose from, you chose an AI generated photo of like, you know, mulatto or Melungeon type of heritage. Like, it doesn't make sense. That's not America. You know what I'm saying? That's not American. That's more Mediterranean. You know what I'm saying? And even then, Morocco is not necessarily Mediterranean itself. So I was just kind of confused why they would do something, why they would like depict that. Like, it doesn't make sense to depict something like that. All right. So I'm not sure if this is Saint Maurice. I'm not sure. But I have an emblem. I don't know where I put it. I think it's in my bag. I'm not sure where I put it. But I have an emblem of Saint Maurice. His whole heraldry. I have his heraldry. I think it's green and white. You know what I mean? I think it's Roman Catholic too. So I have that. So that represents the unknown, and also the nobility in it. It represents the unknown. So these people could be from anywhere. Like, you never know where they're from. You just never know. So I got this book right here, Moors in Spain. Read a little bit of it, didn't read it all. Um, it's kind of interesting, right? Like, do you wear this garb? Do you wear like Native American garb? You know what I mean? I mean, if anything, right? This looks like something that they will wear in Southern Florida. You know, but you know, the Moors in Spain, and Spain is basically Texas and Florida. That's Spain. Spain is basically Texas and Florida. So when you talk about a period of the Moors ruling, right? You talk about them exactly having this appearance. It's people who dress like this. They got the little fez over the head with the turban and stuff like that, and the shadow. It's people who dress like that. Then you got people who dress like Native Americans. But we know for a fact, right? It's still children being made today who has this hue. It's still children being made today who have this hue. You know, and I know it's very hard to reproduce kids in this day and time. Who have like a pure stock. Given the fact that there's so much gentrification, there's so much lower chakra activity going on, right? People going off their desires and not, their true intention. So like I get it, right? There's a lot of fault happening, a lot of regret, so I get it, right? But it's children still being made. You can find people, you can find newborns, right, who have this complexion in places like Georgia, Mississippi, Florida. You can find it, but it's very hard to find it in the north. You know what I mean? It's very hard to find it in the north. Because there's so much self hatred in the north, man. Like people, like I don't know, like when you, I don't know, like me, I never dated outside my. I never dated someone who was lighter than me. I never dated someone who was lighter than me, right? Um, every woman who I've like been with, you know, maybe one, but I wasn't even with her long, but you know, all my long relationships was with women who was like darker than me or like my complexion. It's not even being colorist, it's being a realist. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you know how intentional it is to like have a child who looks like this? Do you know how intentional that is? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you know how intentional that is? We fell to our desires, right? And we regret it now. We regret it. We fell to our desires. Because once you start to make newborns, right, they're going to look at things differently. They're going to look at it like they're not a part of any. They're not a part of what you had going on. They're gonna want to do their own thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what happens. Like you got males, right? Who like for the past 2 decades, right? You kept hearing people say, "Oh, Harriet Tubman, she's not attractive. She's ugly." You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? Like they're talking to someone like who freed people. You know what I'm saying? Who helped people deter death. You know what I'm saying? That's who they're talking. They're talking about a person who helped get people to the the freedom road. That's how they're talking about this person, Harriet Tubman. You know what I mean? They're calling her ugly and stuff like that. Come on, man. Like Harriet Tubman, if you're into dark skinned women, like you wouldn't call her ugly. You wouldn't call any woman ugly. But I understand why people do things like that or say things like that because they're not in touch with the core of the spirit. They're not in touch with the core. They're not the first. So if you're not the first, of course you're going to look at things strangely. If you're the first, you see everything is beautiful. You know what I mean? That's why you would never hear me say, "Oh, this light skinned chick, she's ugly," or this dark skinned chick, she's ugly. You'll never hear me say anything like that. If anything, I'll question people's motives. That's what I'll do. I'll question people's motives. Like, why are you trying to whitewash everything? That's simply what I would say. Like, why are you trying to whitewash everything? Like, that's not our history. But I know Caribbeans, right? They're very heavy into that ritual where they mix in and mix out. They're very heavy into that, which is why you have a lot of Chinese and East Indians along that Caribbean coast, and they're mixing with them. You know what I'm saying? When I was growing up, we thought Jamaicans were all dark skinned with dreads. That's what I thought. But when you really, you know, you go there and you start to look and you see like, okay, this looks like Philadelphia or something like that. It doesn't give you that feeling that you had before you went. You know what I'm saying? So right, he looked like he could be from Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? But like I get it, I get it. Like that's what people feel. I guess that's what people feel. But when people get to thinking like they're bigger than the spirit of everything, they're bigger than life. That's when they start doing those lowly things. They start to do lowly things and they feel like they're bigger than life. It happens every time. So when you trying to get like a very accurate description of who Moors are, how Moors look, and how black people look during those times, medieval, Bronze Age, like you know, after domination, before Christ and all that, right? When you're trying to get an accurate description of how they looked, I would say go to Africa today and see how they govern themselves. You got people who look like this who are in the bushes, right? You know, they live like hunter gatherers. You got people who look like this, right? Who are in the villages, right? And they dress exactly like this. Nigeria, Chad. People in Chad dress just like this. The people in Chad today, they dress just like this. Um, you know, even Uganda, they dress just like this. So that's what I would say, you know. And you get to see it too, like when you're looking at their news channels. You get to see like when they hold their events, how everyone is dressed. You got some people who dress in suits, and you got some people who just dress in, you know, jalabies. They dress down. And you got some people who should dress in traditional wear. It depends on who, who they are and what they believe in. So you can kind of get an idea of like how America looked when we were governing ourselves completely. Because we're not governing ourselves today. We're not doing it. And it's going to be very hard to like even get the government back because there's been so much mixing, so much mixing. So it's going to be like very hard to even get the government back. Like because they're going to look at it like, oh, they're incompetent. Like, why should we give their government back? That's how they're going to look at it. You know, because civilized people don't mix out. That's the whole thing. Civilized people do not mix out. So this whole idea about a transatlantic slave trade, okay, there may have been a transatlantic slave trade, but how did it really happen? You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't happen the way that they said it happened. You know what I'm saying? So even in all that, right? It doesn't make sense. Even in all that, it just doesn't make sense how, you know, people actually think they're going to get that government back, and the government, the occupier, they're pleading to the nations like, why should we give their government back? And they don't know how to govern themselves. You know, they're not keeping their father's creed alive. They're not keeping their mother's creed alive. They're mixing out. They're mixing out. They're mixing out. So it just makes sense. Like South Sudanese, right? How is it that, they still have that government after all they went through all the things that they've went through in the past 15 years? How is it that they still have that government? Like they literally have like six presidents in their crown right now. They have six current presidents. You know what I'm saying? And they have refugees. Like black people in America, you come to America, right? You're gonna see Donald Trump on the news. You're gonna see JD Vance. You know, they don't have their government. Black people don't have their government. Like literally, a white person can roll up in a imported vehicle, right, with a company tag on there, and pick you up and take you to an undisclosed location. You know what I'm saying? Like they could declare you insane. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like black people, they don't really understand what's going on right now. They don't really get it. They don't really get it. They do not really get it. So I'll say this, and I'll close out. RV Bay, do a better job at depicting Moors, separate from Arabs. Like, do a better job at depicting Moors and their rightful, um, art. You know, do a better job at descripting us, because Moors are not Arabs necessarily. You know what I mean? Um, Moors are a people that come from Senegalese stock. They come from German stock. They're not just Arabs. So please, please, great peace, Yakoki.